Alright, buckle up and grab some popcorn because today we're going to talk about a tank which didn't make Stalin proud. The Soviet IS-1 heavy tank. The IS-1 tank project was born out of the Soviet need to upgrade their KV-1 tanks, which struggled more than a cat in a bathtub against the German Panthers and Tigers. After some hectic engineering and a lot of swearing, the IS-1 emerged with a fancy new 85mm gun and better armor. However, this tank's production run was shorter than a TikTok trend from October 1943 to January 1944, building about 200 units. In combat, the IS-1 had a rough time, often ending up as scrap metal courtesy of German defenses. This epic failure led to the tank being swiftly replaced by its much better sibling, the IS-2. Despite its rocky history, the IS-1 basically kicked off production of the IS-2 heavy tank, which basically changed the course of World War II, making it an interesting footnote in World War II tank history. So today we're gonna talk about the IS-1 heavy tank. Hello and welcome to the Bobi and Tanks YouTube channel and enjoy this video. History. The IS-1 project began because of the issues with the KV-1 tank. They tried to improve the KV-1 though and came up with the KV-1S. It differed from the KV-1 by having a smaller cast turret, an improved transmission and modified hull armor that provided the same protection but weighted 5 tons less. Between 1942 and 1943, 1,230 KV-1S units were produced, which later served as the basis for the KV-85. Long story short, the KV-1S still wasn't much better than the T-34, and on top of that, it was more expensive and harder to build. Genius. 1943, Comrade Stalin almost pulled the plug on all heavy tank development. However, after seeing the German Panther and Tiger tanks in action that summer, it was clear that heavy tanks would still be needed. His tanks just has to be upgraded with better protection and firepower to handle these new threats. To address this, in March 1943, an order was issued to upgrade all frontline tanks. One of the new guns considered for this upgrade was an anti-aircraft gun similar to the German 88mm, which had been captured and analyzed by the Soviets. This led to the creation of the KV-85 heavy tank, a stopgap model with a production run shorter than a TikTok trend, ending with 143 units. The KV-85 set the stage for the IS-Iosif Stalin series of tanks. It featured a new turret designed for the upgraded gun, accommodating 3 crew members. However, the hull remained largely unchanged from the original KV-1 design, which had flat armor and was initially developed for the multi-turreted SMK tank in 1939. Despite the advancements with the KV-85, there was still a need for further innovation in tank design. That's why the KV-13 project was initiated by the SKB-2 Design Bureau at the Chelyabinsk-Kirov plant in late 1941. The goal was to create a universal tank combining features of the KV-1 and the T-34, resulting in the prototype Object 233, tested in spring 1942. However, it was rejected due to some issues with reliability, armor protection and its 2-man turret design. Despite this, the KV-13 program led to 2 modified prototypes that helped test the new IS-85 program in early 1943. The IS-1. The new IS-85 tank, also known as the IS-1, aims to improve upon the KV-13 with a sloped hull designed to better deflect or resist shots from all angles. Due to criticism of the KV-13 and the appearance of the Panzer VI Tiger, a more spacious 3-man turret with an 85mm gun was developed for the IS-85, replacing the KV-13's 2-man turret with a 76.2mm gun. 2 85mm guns, the S-31 and the D5T, were considered. The S-31 combined an 85mm barrel with the base of the 76.2mm SIS-5 gun, while the D5T was lighter and had less recoil. Neither gun fitted the KV-13's turret, so a new 3-man turret was designed, which required lengthening the hull by 420mm, adding a 6th road wheel, making the running gear similar to the KV series tanks. The weight increased to 44 tons, ground pressure rose from 0.74 to 0.78 kilograms per square centimeter, and speed and range were slightly reduced. Initially, the armor was intended to stop a Panzer III's 50mm round, but needed to be significantly thickened later. The design goal was to maintain the weight of the original KV-1. It used the same armament as the interim KV-85, the powerful D5T 85mm gun, which had a longer range and higher velocity than the previous F-34. The turret, also from the KV-85, housed 3 men and featured a commander's cupola and a rear ball-mount DT machine gun. Additional machine guns were mounted in the hull and coaxial with the main gun. The drivetrain of the IS-85 was similar to the KV-1, featuring large tracks with 3 pairs of double return rollers and 6 double-tired wheels, supported by heavy torsion arms. Extra fuel tanks were attached to the rear of the hull and storage boxes were mounted on the large mudguards. The engine was upgraded to a V2 IS 12-cylinder diesel engine providing 520 horsepower. The tank had a top speed of 37 km an hour, which are 23 miles per hour, and a practical range of 150 km, which are 93 miles. Let's look at the construction of the IS-1 heavy tank. The IS-1 had a bullet-resistant hull and turret made of cast-armored steel, making it lighter and better performing than its predecessor, the KV-1. It featured a torsion bar suspension with 6 track rollers and 3 support rollers on each side, all cast and interchangeable. The tank was powered by a 520 horsepower V210 diesel engine with a multi-disc dry clutch and an 8-speed gearbox. Its main armament was an 85mm D5 T85 cannon supported by 3 Degtiario D10 machine guns. The armor, made of cast steel plates, was thickened at the front of the hull 120mm and turret 100mm, but had a vulnerable spot near the driver's hatch. This flaw was fixed in the IS-2 model. Production. The IS-85 prototype began successful but rushed trials in mid-1943, with production handled by Chelyabinsk Kirov plant, also known as the place where sleep-deprived engineers made miracles happen. The first IS-1 tanks rolled off the line in October 1943, but production stopped in January 1944 as the IS-1 was quickly replaced by the much better IS-2. Consequently, only 200 to 207 IS-1 tanks were produced. Despite the limited numbers, the IS-1 was a significant improvement over the KV-85 and T-3476. The introduction of the new T-3485 medium tank pushed the Soviet brain trust to further evolve and beef up the IS series. By January 1944, many IS-1s not yet developed were equipped with the new 100mm BS-3 gun, creating the IS-100. This tank had the potential to be a beast on the battlefield, hitting harder than your dad with a build, but as luck would have it, the IS-100 underwent trials with the IS-122 and lost. The IS-122 would later be known as the IS-2 heavy tank. The IS-100 was dropped. The new A-19 122mm gun could penetrate a Tiger's armor at medium range. So there you have it, the IS-1, born out of necessity, overshadowed by its siblings, and eventually left in the dust. However, it did get the chance to show its capabilities on the battlefield, but that didn't go well either. Let's talk about it. Combat history. Alright, now hold tight, because the combat history of the IS-1 is like watching a series of unfortunate events unfold. The IS-1 was to replace the KV tanks in all Soviet heavy tank breakthrough tank units. These newly formed units were called Guard tank units to emphasize their importance, and the first IS-1 tanks were given to the Guards heavy tank regiments that were licking their wounds and reforming their organization after a summer of brutal battles. The IS-85 was distributed to the 1st, 8th and 13th Guards heavy tank regiment in Ukraine. These regiments saw significant action in early 1944 during offensives in Ukraine, where the IS-1 was not really successful, especially against the German Panther and Tiger. Several operational and tactical mistakes during deployment prevented the new tank from playing all its trump cards and favored the German Wehrmacht, which was already fighting on the defensive and happily turned the IS-1s into scrap metal with shocking ease. One of the first missions of the IS-1, involving 21 tanks, took place on February 15, 1944, near the village of Lysyanka. This mission was a failure, as all the Soviet tanks, including the IS-1s, were destroyed by camouflaged Panthers and assault guns in the village, with each tank receiving an average of 7 hits. My war thunder brain tells me that this is some serious overkill, but whatever. Perhaps they didn't penetrate the first few times.
The target hasn't taken any damage.
The village was captured the next day after the German tanks ran out of fuel. On several occasions in March 1944, IS-1 tanks were destroyed by 7.5mm PaK-40s. Many IS-1s fell victim to these guns throughout 1944. During a battle near Uman on March 15, 1944, 5 IS-1s were destroyed by 8.8cm anti-aircraft guns, and 3 tanks were knocked out due to technical problems. In a rare incident, the lower nose of an IS-1 was penetrated by a shot from a Schwere Panzerbusse 41, a weapon that probably shouldn't have been able to do so. The first confirmed encounter with a Tiger tank from the Heavy Tank Division 503 happened on March 4, 1944 near Staro-Konstantinov. The encounter ended like a bad breakup, with the IS-1 getting obliterated from 1500 to 1800 meters away. Other IS-1s were either destroyed or heavily damaged. However, the IS-1s managed to severely damage the undercarriage of a Tiger. Another battle with a Tiger on March 16, 1944 ended similarly, with 2 IS-1s destroyed and burned out with their crews, and others badly damaged or immobilized. Remember, this tragic tale is all about the IS-1, not the IS-2. The IS-2, unlike its predecessor, didn't completely flop in the battle against the Mustache Man and his zoo of armored beasts. If you would like to hear about the IS-2 as well and its less embarrassing combat history, drop a comment below and I will make a video about that, which will have you questioning all of your life choices. Anyways, that was all I had to say for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you think I said anything that is not right, or you think I should have added any additional information to this video, please let me know in the comments and share your knowledge. Besides that, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.
Target hit! Target destroyed!